Kimbo, Natatanzambi, Yamazu. I'd like to welcome the community. Thank you for being here with us. I want to say welcome to YouTube and to Facebook. And we are back with our wonderful Dada that everybody loves. And we are so much. You know, she enlightened us, you know, with so much information. And you know, I'm not going to talk long. I'm going to turn it over to you, Queen. It is in your hands. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Glory, glory to the Most High. All this is happening because the Most High want to use each and every one of us. I might be consistent on the historical part. Some other person has a prophecy. Some other person has a dream. Some other person is a teacher. And we all gather. Some person is a linguist. And we all gather and help each other. So Banabetu, don't give up, and everything, just question everything. Just question everything. So today we're going to ask ourselves questions, and we are going to look for the answers slowly by slowly. When you read the New Testament, you see that you're being told about Asia Minor and Asia Major. And you think that this is in the continent of Asia. You think that this is happening in Rome. You think that this is happening in Greece. But actually, Asia was not even written as Asia. It was written as Achaia. And Achaia was a Roman province in Africa. So there is a war online. People say, no, our land was called this. Our land was called Alkebulan. Our land was called this. Don't call us Africans. Don't call it Africa. Yes, we know all those names were there. Atigia. One time, the land, especially the northern part, was called Libya. At one time, it was called Ethiopia. At another time, it was called Kush. So the names, another time, only Kemet was famous, so it was called Kemet. So the names have been changing, and we just have to understand each other and accommodate each other. So me, I don't have a problem you calling Africa Ethiopia, you call Africa Libya, you call Africa Kebulan, the mother of mankind, whichever name, because these are names that were interchanging over time. So today we are going to find out what really happened. And Dada is also going to teach us about the name Africa and the possible origins of the name Africa, because she has covered that topic before, so she's in a good position to tell us. We will watch a few videos, and we will stop hating ourselves. And you're going to find out that this Africa actually was a name of a tribe. It was a name of a particular people. These people who are coming to explore or to travel or to come to learn from Africa, these Europeans, the Greeks, the Romans, and they find these people and they find this tribe and they decide to name the region in the name of that tribe. That is what normally happens. So when a European calls himself Afrikaners, we are ancient. So we were here before the European came, right? So we cannot be called after a European. It's a European, a settler, who will call himself after our name. So in the ancient times, when people conquered lands, they took the identity of the people they conquered. Because once you take the identity of that person, remember, you're going to take the history, you're going to take the wealth, you're going to take the land, you're going to take the fame and everything. For instance, when you look at America right now, we know the people who control America. are not the indigenous people. But when they went to that land, they did not call it England or anything. They still left the names of the native tribes and named even some provinces in the names of the native people. And they embraced those names. They took the land. They named themselves after the land. And now they are Americans. They are Americans. They are not conquerors anymore. They are not British anymore. They are not English anymore. They are not Germans anymore. They are not French anymore. They are Americans. So when somebody conquers your land, they take your identity. That's why we were fighting against colonization. That's why people died, because they knew once these people take our land, they will name themselves after our land, and the land will be gone like that. It will only take like 5 generations, and colors, it's gone. So when the Europeans were able to conquer the Moors in Spain, they were able to conquer the people, the native people, the melanated people who were in Asia. They were able to take out the Kushites who began the civilization in Europe. They took their identity. So this is what has been happening all over the world. So Africanus is naming himself after Africa. Africa is a name of a black people tribe, and he will take the name of Africa and call himself Africanus because he has conquered the land of the Africans. So he wants to be an African. Look at Egypt right now. When the Turks, the Ottoman Empire expanded, we have people who are called Mamluks. Even the Africans know them as Mamluks. These people come from the north, near Turkey, in countries like, I remember that country, in countries like Armenia. These people who live in Armenia, we know them as Mamluks. In Swahili, we say Mamluki. You have the Ottoman, you have the Turks, you have the Grecians, you have the French and the other people. So this group of people and some Arabs would come and conquer Egypt, and the Persians and so many groups of people. And now what are they being called today? Egyptians. They have taken their identity and they even started eroding the history and changing history, and you know what has been happening. So we're going to research on that. We are going to look on that. So from today, don't fight, oh, this country was called Ethiopia, these are names of tribes, and we have embraced those names because we need a name to name our land. And so it's okay. So we shouldn't fight. This land is Al-Kibu land. We should know we are not Africans. It was named after a European. No, we have to go deeper than that. We have to research more than that. And my people, we will watch one video. This video will explain to you why, after changing the maps with their guesswork, they removed the real Asia, the real Akai, where the New Testament was taking place, the real Akai, whatever they call Asia Minor, whatever, and they put it in the Middle East. But Asia, Akai is the original word. The real Asia, the real Akai, was any land that was east of the Nile. So when you are in Kush in Sudan, you are here in Ethiopia, you are in Misri, Egypt, wherever is east of the Nile, that was Akai, and it was a Roman province. It was colonized by the Romans. So that is what the Romans called Asia, but the real name was Akai. Now, this brings us to another point. Why then do they call majority of the Black people in the Horn of Africa Afro-Asiatic? They don't mean that they came from Asia and migrated to Africa. No, they were in Africa, but they are people who lived east of the Nile. So they are the archaic people. They are the people of ancient Achaia, which was later changed to Asia. And they took this name and named a continent, my people. Africa was not a continent, right? Africa was a name of a small tribe, but it later became a name of a continent because these invaders are coming and they have to call this land a name. You can't have a land without a name. And so the name became widely accepted after some centuries. Same way as Ethiopia was accepted as the name of the whole continent, same way as Libya was accepted, Kush was accepted, Kemet was accepted, and other things. And now they want us to accept sub-Saharan, that terminology. They want us to embrace it, like they are forcing it on us. Are you getting me, my people?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, who are the real Asiatics? Who are the real Achaia people? So Africa is not a continent, it's a name of a tribe. Now, it has become a name of a continent. What about Asia? Asia was not a name of a continent. It was a name of a small region, a Roman province. In those times, you didn't have these sophisticated military weapons. You didn't have aircraft and tanks and whatever and supersonic aircrafts. So you couldn't actually rule over a very big region. It had to be like a small country. By the way, they call it a province. So it had to be like a smaller even than the small countries we see in Africa today. Maybe it was the size of Djibouti or Eritrea, those small countries, you see. It was a province. So the name Achaia or Asia will be stolen from the east of the Nile and being taken to by the Greeks, and the Greeks will name a land in Greece Achaia. Then from there, when their civilization will begin there in Europe, they have to call themselves something. So they will call this place Asia from the word Achaia. Now it has become the name of a continent until South Korea and Japan. So we have to ask ourselves these questions. That's why I tell people, when you say that Mesopotamia and the 4 rivers of Eden are not in Africa, you have to dig deep. The story of Eden happened in Africa. The Kushites, the land that encompasses the whole land of Kush, where there was onyx stone and gold, is in Africa. And the wars, ancient wars, happened in Africa. So I'm not disputing that Arabia was not lived by Black people. It was occupied by Black people for the longest time. It's just recently, after the 700 AD, during the expansion of Islam, that the Kushites will be kicked from Arabia. Why will the Kushites be kicked from Arabia and retreat back and come back to Africa? Because most of the Kushites at that time had either converted to Christianity or to Judaism. And so they didn't want to become Muslims. So they had to leave those areas. Because now people were joining the religion, and then they were against, because they had roots in Judaism and they had roots in. So Kushites for the longest time have not been pagans. They have not been pagans. They were in these beliefs and religions and other things. So that is just a brief introduction. And Dada, I don't know which part you want us to start with. We'll start with
wherever you want to start. Yes, go ahead. It's on you right now. Do your thing.
All right. So I want us first to talk about a person called Kub. And this person is mentioned only one time in the scripture, but he is very, very important. Once you know who Kub is, you will know that all these people were Africans, but they will not mention because they know once you find out the neighbors of the people who lived along that place or the Kemetic people, since they've been lying to you that the ancient Egyptians was something else, they know if they tell you the real Put, who is Punt, if they tell you the real Kub, they tell you the real Libyans, they tell you the real Kushites, the real Phoenicians, the real Canaanites, they know that you're going to find out the truth that these people were black. So let's go to Kub. These people even had a kingdom just below Egypt. This person is called Kub. And there is a possibility this Kub left Africa and went to explore. You find places called Cuba, right? But this Cuba is with a sea. These people were merchants, these people were sailors, these people were traders, just like the Puntites. So a while ago, we saw this video from our professor, African-American professor, and he talked about the Puntites, how the Puntites left the coast of Africa and reached the Americas with their boats. They navigated all that way. So Kub was with them. So is this where we find the names of South America, like Cuba, these islands, or it could be because there was a kingdom called Hobart, Kubat, Kub, or Chub, C-H-U-B. But in the Bible, it's K-U-B. So let's go and read a scripture in Ezekiel 30, verse 5. Ezekiel 30 and verse 5. So that we can know what kind of African man is this. Is he really an African? Was he really living in Africa?
All right. Ezekiel 30th,
30
chapter, verse 5.
Yes.
And it reads, Ethiopia and Libya and Lydia and all the mingled people and Kub or Chub and the men of the land that is in league shall fall with them by the sword.
Thank you very much. So my people, you can see Kub there. You know who is Libya? You know who is Lydia? Lydia can be Lud or any Hamitic person. So these people are relatives. These people are related. They know each other. And these people lived between the Sahara, that is all the way from West Africa. All this Sahara region was inhabited at one time. And that is where even the ancient trade, most of the ancient trade took place along that place with the camel caravans coming to the Horn of Africa, then crossing to Arabia. That is how actually the ancient trade around those regions. There was a trade all over, but around those regions, it started from west and came to the Horn of Africa, or from the Horn of Africa to the west, to the top, Mauritania, coming back, going to Arabia, to the east coast of Africa. The boats will go to, will sail to India, to Indonesia, and to the Americas. And later on, the people in the west of Africa were able to sail to the Americas as well. And they just made boats with papyrus. The same thing the people did in the East is the same thing the people did in the West. So now you see, these are related people. So Kub and Libyans are people who know each other, but see where Libya is and see where the Horn of Africa is. And the Puntites and the people of Kub, they are related. They live together with the people of Kush. They know each other. They are not foreigners to each other. So these are Africans and these are ancient people, and they lived together, and they were Africans, and they lived in the land of Africa. So this is how you see the transatlantic slave trade, the Indian Ocean, Persian, Arabic slave trade, and the trans-Saharan. All this slavery happened on the same trade routes, So the people of East Africa were shipped, some were shipped to Egypt, some were shipped to Pont, that is Somaliland. Reaching Pont, they will be sold to the Arab merchants. These Arab merchants will then sell them to China, sell them to Iraq, sell them to Iran, sell them to India, sell them to wherever places. It's not a must that these people could just stay here in Arabia. They were sold to faraway lands. At the same time, these people would be sold through the Sahara Desert. Maybe the caravans would carry these people and sell them maybe to Europe, sell them to Mauritania, sell them to Morocco, sell them to many other places. And later on, we know that this expanded. And now these people who were in Arabia and who were in the Horn of Africa, these people went even to the west of Africa, where there were thriving kingdoms, and started stealing people from that place. And when the Portuguese come and the Spaniards come, now it becomes a slave trade to the Americas. So this is how it worked, from east through the Sahara to west, and then to the Americas. At the same time, from the east coast of Africa to the Horn of Africa, and then the people will be shipped to Arabia, and others will be shipped to even South America. There are other people, Bantus, who are taken to South America. You see people in Paraguay, you see people in Colombia who are Bantus from Congo, from Angola, you see. So this is how it happened, the same trade routes. So let's know now today about Kub, because we can talk and talk and forget ourselves. So this is really interesting. Yeah. Dada, are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, maybe Yaya Mazambi will check on that video.
Mm-hmm.
It's written the Somali states,
Okay.
but actually it's not talking about the Somalis, but they are talking about the land that is now occupied by the Somalis. There were other ancient people who occupied those particular lands, because this land of Kub was just next to the land of Punt. And the Grecians traveled these lands, and they named these people of Kub Macrobians. So these people were known even by the ancient Grecians. Yes. I hope you can say it. Can you say it?
Yes, I'm pulling it up.
Yeah. So Banabetu, listen carefully. Who are these people in history called Macrobians by the Greeks? They are the people in the scriptures. So the history didn't die, all of it. We can still find some bits of it. Yes, that. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Let me know if you all can hear this, please, okay? Can you hear it?
No.
No.
All right. Let me know.
The Somali city-states. And so,
Yes.
Africans of the land of Punt prospered from 2500 BC onward for thousands of years and eventually created the kingdom of Macrobia in the same region, which today is modern-day Somalia. The Africans of the kingdom of Macrobia were known as the Macrobians, which also means the long-lived. They were known as expert traders and were also pastoralists. Pastoralism is a branch of agriculture concerned with animals that are raised for meat, eggs, and milk. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus, who was born in 485 BC, mentions in his writings the kingdom of Macrobia. The kingdom of Macrobia were well known for their wealth generated from trade and their supply of gold in the region of Somalia. He describes these Africans as being very tall and living extremely long lives, usually living up to 120 years of age or more. Herodotus, the historian, states in his writings the following concerning them. They led them to a fountain, wherein, when they had washed, they found their flesh all glossy and sleek, as if they had bathed in oil, and a scent came from the spring, like that of violets. The water was so weak, they said, that nothing would float in it, neither wood nor any lighter substance, but all went to the bottom. If the account of this fountain be true, it would be their constant use of the water from it, which makes them so long-lived. The ancient Somalians also were known for their eventual domestication of the one-humped camel, which helped to revolutionize trade within the area. Now, by 1 AD, the Somali city-states were founded, and the cities served as trading centers and commercial hubs supporting a vast network. Rather than institute one king and a royal family to preside over the entire region, each city was instead ruled by its own chief, and the city-states enjoyed an interdependent structure that was beneficial for all involved. The Somali city-states included Essina, located on the southeastern coast of Somalia, and Mundus, located on the north coast of Somalia. Also, the cities of Sarabian, Mausoleum, Tabay, Apon, and Maleo were established. Now, the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea was an ancient manuscript written in Greek by an Egyptian merchant, which details some of the trading activities in and around the eastern coast of Africa, Arabia, and Eastern Asia. The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea provides the following description of Maleo, and there is another market town in Maleo, distant a sail of about 800 stadia. The anchorage is an open roadstead, sheltered by a spit running out from the east. Here, the natives are peaceable. There are imported into this place the things already mentioned, and many tunics, cloaks from Arsinoe, dressed and dyed, drinking cups, sheets of soft copper in small quantity, iron and gold and silver coin. There are exported from these places myrrh, a little frankincense, cinnamon, duaca, Indian copal, and masir, all of which are imported into Arabia. 2 days sail, or 3, beyond Maleo is the market town in Mundus, where the ships lie at anchor more safely behind a projecting island close to the shore. There are imported into this place the things previously set forth, and from it likewise are exported the merchandise already stated, and the incense called Makkutu. The Somali city-states developed trading routes up and down the Red Sea along the eastern coast of Africa, just as their ancestors did at the time of the land of Punt. These routes again provided direct access to Ethiopia, Nubia, and Egypt for the purposes of trade and business. Then moving eastward, trade routes were created with the nation of Arabia. Also, trade routes were created with various cities along the eastern coast of the nation of India and Asia. The nation of India traded large quantities of cinnamon with Somalia, who in turn sold it to the European nations of Rome and Greece. And so the Somalians developed a trade network that connected 3 continents and multiple nations with themselves at the center. As a consequence, these coastal African cities flourished and were abundant with international goods. Goods traded included cinnamon, along with a barter of cloves and other spices, and also ivory, exotic animal hides, glass stones, cloth, copper, ivory, incense, and tortoise shells. Roman accounts record a single pound of Somalian myrrh costing 16 silver denarii. The denarii was the currency used in Rome at the time. Cinnamon sold for 50 denarii per pound in Rome, and was at the time sourced by these Africans from as far east as Indonesia in Asia via India. To facilitate trade across the seas, the Africans of the Somali city-states developed various ships. One popular style of ship was known as the Bedouin. The Bedouin ships were extremely fast, double-masted vessels made from wood, which had large sails to catch the wind. Some of the Bedouin were also used for fishing, and others for carrying goods to their various destinations. And so the Somali city-states became wealthy and continued to thrive. When Islam finally arrived in the region, these Africans developed a series of new powerful Islamic kingdoms known as sultanates. The Somali sultanates would become the next chapter in the history of this great African people.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Banabetu. So that was a kingdom called Macrobia, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see. Macrobia,
There you go.
all right? Macrobia, all right? Or we actually in African languages we use Achaia, but they used this one, right? So that was a kingdom near Pont. Those are Africans, and these Africans might have sailed out of Africa and gone to other lands. So when you see a country called Cuba, it is possible that these Macrobians, Cuba people, might have developed this. But remember, the Kemetic people, or the people of Ham, as they say, shared some names with us Bantus. So when you see a name, a Bantu word, it's not funny if you see that name among the Kushites or among the Nilotics, especially clan names. So we know that there are people who are Bantus called Kub. Yeah, their names we shared. So when you read Zephaniah, they say Zephaniah was the son of Cush. Zephaniah is Habiru, what they say Hebrew, right? But he's the son of Cush. Where is this name Cush coming from? There are some clan names we shared with the Kemetic people. So when a person comes into the awakening and they tell you, I don't want to hear anything about the Kemetu people, they are lying to themselves. Because all these Africans, all these Asian people lived among each other and they share lots and lots of things among themselves. Be it food, be it clothing, be it ceremonies, they share a lot. One time you come to Africa and you live there for 1 year and they will tell you everything. These people intermarried. These people helped other tribes fight their other enemies. Like my tribe is surrounded by all Nilotics. That's why we knew how to fight so hard with the spear. because the people that surrounded us were warriors. The Maasai on the other side, and we have the Kalenjin. The Kalenjin might be the people from ancient Egypt, because most of the language you see in Egypt is Kalenjin. The Kalenjins are the people in Kenya, the marathon, you know, the people who run long distance races. Most of them come from that community. The Bantus run too. The Bantus are also good in long distance, but majority of them come from that tribe. They are our neighbors, and we even intermarried with them. And we have a name called Maina. The Abagusi Bantu have Maina as a clan name. The Kalenjin, the Kipsigis have this word. When you go to the Agikuyu, they have this Maina. I don't know, to the Maasai, there is this name. So we all lived together. At one point or another, we fought each other, we made treaties, we came back, embraced one another, we intermarried, we sold, traded with one another. So there is nothing like the Hebrews who are living in another planet and the Kemetu people who are living on another planet. All right, so you have to know the history of all of Africa to make a conclusion. You cannot know the history of one tribe and say, I know the history of Africa. You know the history of Egypt and you say, you know the history of all Africa. We have to touch even the people they don't tell us about, all right? So there is other Africans that the historians don't talk much about because those people are alive. And these are the Ma people. Who are the Ma people? The Ma people are ancient people, as I came to learn recently, and they are part of the Maasai people. So when people see a Maasai pastoralist just having a shuka is that cloth on across their shoulder, and they think these people didn't have a civilization, these people are primitive. That is not the case. And there is a possibility that the Maasai people, because they are pastoralists, and these people, you know, love cattle so much. Like cattle is their symbol of their livelihood and everything. It is very possible that the Maasai might have broken away from the ancient Libyans. Not as much, but it's possible that they might have been related to the people who lived in the Sahara. So they are named as Nilotes, but they might have been Nilo-Saharans at that time. And when the desert dried, they came south. There is a very big possibility. So we can check that video on the Ma Confederacy. The Ma is a very old civilization. And up to now, the Maasai will tell you, we are Ma. They just tell you, we are Ma. So I don't know if they mean Ma'at or they mean another Ma, but they will always tell you. And the ancient Libyans had this, how the Maasai put their hair. The long braids, they color those braids, yeah. When you see an ancient Libyan warrior, they just look similar with the Maasai warriors. Yeah, so they might have been related. So these are Africans. And I want to remind you that it's not all the Kushitic people or the Nilotic people that entered this confederacy of slavery. Not all of them. The Maasai people, why the Europeans fear them most, the Maasai people stopped slavery. They fought against slavery. It is the Maasai people who went down to Tanzania and stopped the slave caravans who were stealing people from the interior.
Oh.
If it were not the Maasai, Kenya would have been taken, the whole of it. There are some Kemetic tribes, let me call them Nilotic tribes. that helped us in the struggle. If they were not the ones, we wouldn't have made it. And these tribes, up to now, they still keep their culture. They refused even to learn English. Even those days during colonial period, they refused to go to even Mzungu school to learn anything about Mzungu. And they're the people up to now, they say, oh, these people are primitive. Yes, they have kept their culture and they are still warriors up to now. And most part of Kenya and Tanzania actually is named after the Ma people. So you find most regions, their names. Like Nairobi. Nairobi is a Maasai word that means a place of clean waters. So when they're coming from Kajiado, which is neighboring Nairobi, and other places, they came to Nairobi because it's cooler and they found cool waters and their cattle would drink the water and the like. And so when the Maasai used to go anywhere, they used to pray for the land and it's like they could own the land spiritually. They could own the land spiritually. They are very spiritual actually. They are very spiritual. When people tell you that this Hamites, those people are spiritual. Don't joke. So for us who are in the diaspora, we think we will come back home and bash people here and there. We will be surprised. Go slow, pole pole. Slowly, small. Don't come fast. Small. Those people are spiritual. So names like Menengai, Elementaita, and many other places are Maasai words. You have to get a Maasai and ask them what is the meaning of this word. They took most of the land, and there were, let me just remind you about history just a little bit. There were two Maasai chiefs who were brothers. And so when the British came and they want to build a railway so that they can steal resources, they wanted to build a railway from Mombasa, Kenya, the port, to Uganda, Kampala. Because in Uganda there is copper and they want to ship this copper, and Uganda was in the middle. They don't have a sea. They have to ship this copper to Europe or wherever. So they needed land to build like a city or even to build the railway. They had captured some people from India whom they wanted to enslave. I don't know, it was under the British East African Company. You've heard such names like East African Company, I don't know, the Dutch, whatever company. They took people from from India and brought them to build that railway in early 1900s. But in order for them to build the railway is passing through the Maasai land. The Maasais will teach them a lesson. What do we do? These people are hostile. So there were two, Lenana, and I forgot the name of the other brother. So they had to lie to one brother, and this brother collaborated with them the last minute, and then they had to build. But the other brother refused. So this is what used to happen, because they couldn't come and just take over the land. They had to go and lie to people, manipulate, act like they are very, very good, bring gifts, bring this, look like, okay, we have come to help your people. Yeah, that is how they managed to get Nairobi, and that is how they managed to build the railway. But the Indian servants who had come to build the railway died in masses, because wherever this railway was passing is through the reserves. There were many man-eating lions, and these people were being eaten by lions in the name of building the railway. All right. So the Ma Confederacy, the Ma people, is a very, very ancient civilization, and there is a possibility that the drawings, the artwork you see in Libya might have been done by the people they despise, they call sub-Saharan Africans, when these people were living in the Sahara in the green Sahara, when there was Lake Chad, when everything was green up down there. I don't know, I call it down or up. Yeah. And did you see? Yeah, because this River Nile confuses me. It's going north and so I don't know that one is up or we are down.
They flipped everything. We know the map is turned upside down right now.
Yes, this is the confusion now. Yeah. You've seen that video on the Ma Confederacy.
Yes.
M-A-A. That's where you get the word Masai Mara, Ma, the Ma people.
Right, you ready?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Banabeto, I hope you're learning something. So that civilization is even before Egypt. It's even before Kemet. So there were people in the Sahara living there. So can we say the people in West Africa are not civilized? No, The people who came from Sahara with the writing system and with everything. You hear about the Mande people. You hear such names, Mande, Mandingo, wherever. And they even say there are people who are Elamites and they used this word Ma. So I've told you the words I've always, you'll find Kub in Kemet and you'll find Kub Abantu. You always hear this word Yakub among the Arabs. It doesn't mean Jacob. It might mean this Kub who left Africa and went to trade in Arabia. So you hear Yakub, you say, oh, that is the promise. I'm telling you, Jacob was living here. All right, so Africans have shared names, cultures, and many things, many things. You hear the word like Mansa Musa. It starts with Ma, isn't it? Ma, and they say Ma means great, all right? So if you ask a Maasai today, who are you? Me? I'm a Ma. They will not even say Maasai, Ma. We are Ma people. Maybe they mean Ma'at or something, but we know that there was an ancient civilization which the Europeans don't talk about because they have been able to whitewash to some extent Egypt. So they only want us to focus on Egypt so they can keep lying and lying and lying. But about this Sahara civilization, they don't want to talk about it. All right, they don't want to talk about it, but at least we have an African historian who is digging deeper. So I hope you got something, my people. And they said Proto-Saharans venerated cattle. That is exactly what the Ma people do. The Maasai people have a legend that when they were brought from heaven, they were wrapped in an animal skin with their cows and they came to earth with their cattle. So when you go to the city of Nairobi, I don't know about Tanzania, the Maasais will move with their cattle will go and eat the flowers, nobody will ask. They will walk in the city center, cattle, not vehicles. Cattle, I'm sorry, cattle. Yeah, they are cows. And you're a city council member of the city council police. They're asking you, what are you asking the cows? What have the cows done to you? What have the cows? Let the cows eat. Let the cows eat grass. So the cows walk. It's just like in India, you see the cows, they have more freedom than humans. So to the Ma people, they venerate cattle. So that's why I believe the people who are despised and called sub-Saharans today are the same people who made the artwork that you see in Libya. They draw the cattle that you see in the Horn of Africa, the rocks that are painted there, the same in South Africa. So I'm not saying there was no civilization in the South. There was no civilization in the Great Lakes region. There was civilization all over. But for now, because little was written about the South, or it was lost in one way or another, so we are just looking at what we have at the moment. But there was a civilization and a great civilization in the Nile Valley, and this is where iron smelting began. In the Nok civilization in West Africa and in the Great Lakes region, particularly Tanzania, there was iron smelting before even the Europeans, before even the Grecians and the Romans maybe arrived in Africa. So I want you to understand that these ancient Africans are the people who left Africa and civilized Europe and civilized what they call Asia today. So civilization began in Africa. Don't forget that. Don't forget that, my people. So that is the point I wanted you to see, that if this Kub is an African, this Punt is an African, just know the Phoenicians were Africans, and let them not lie to you that they were Carthaginians or the Phoenicians. they came from North Africa. It's not only North Africa. These people traded everywhere from east to west. And when you saw that map, it shows you clearly from east to west, they traded, they were all over the place. So let us learn our history and the history of our neighbors and other people. All right. Dada, maybe we will check on about Africa so that we can understand.
I don't have that pulled up, Dada, from that teaching, so we'll do that another time.
Another time. Okay, okay. Did you see that there is one video there? I don't know if you can see it. And next time you will continue, you teach us about that.
Africa.
About Africa, she asked. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What I wanted us to see particularly, and so that we can wind up, is that the land of Shem, the land of Ham, and the land of Japheth, the way they put it in continents is all faked. It's all faked because now, remember, Akai will be removed from east of the Nile and be taken to Greece, right? And then afterwards become a name of a continent. It is the same way they will just imagine. Let us put Shem here. Let us put Ham here, and let us put Japheth here. But it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So the same way they named continents, okay, you people, despite Africa is the name of one tribe, we will call all of you Africa. Now you guys will call all of you Japheth, and here, because we want this history to be part of us, we are going to call ourselves Shem. So that's what they did. So it's all faked up.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if you know.
And you said that you had a video on that.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of that video?
Yeah. Let me just, I'll show you. Yeah, just a moment. I'm sorry for delaying.
Oh, it's okay. And maybe you'll recognize it here as I go through.
Yeah, no problem.
I think that was the first one that came through this morning. And,
Yeah, see it. History of Africa and the real meaning of the name Africa. I'll share it once again. Huh?
okay.
Yeah. I just shared right now.
Okay.
Yes. There is an African woman on the face of that.
Oh, it's this one here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I seen that. There it is.
I'm Julia Sondu, showing you where development is happening. Please come and join us. Where is the name Africa came from? Africa is the world's second largest continent, both by size and number, after Asia. Its landmass holds 54 countries and 9 territories. Over 1.11 billion people call Africa home and call themselves African. Africa, and being African, has become a core part of the identity of millions of the continent's inhabitants. But where does this word, to which so many have such an emotional connection, come from? The exact origins of the word Africa are contentious, but there is much about its history that is known. We know that the word Africa was first used by the Romans to describe that part of the Carthaginian Empire which lies in present-day Tunisia. When the Romans conquered Carthage in the 2nd century BCE, giving them jurisdiction over most of North Africa, they divided North Africa into multiple provinces. Amongst these, there were Africa Proconcularis, northern Tunisia, and Africa Nova, much of present-day Algeria, also called Numidia. All historians agree that it was the Roman use of the term Africa for parts of Tunisia and northern Algeria, which ultimately, almost 2,000 years later, gave the continent its name. There is, however, no consensus amongst scholars as to why the Romans decided to call these provinces Africa. Over the years, a small number of theories have gained traction. One of the most popular suggestions for the origins of the term Africa is that it is derived from the Roman name for a tribe living in the northern reaches of Tunisia, believed to possibly be the Berber people. The Romans variously named these people Afri, Afer, and Ifer. Some believe that Africa is a contraction of Africa Terra, meaning the land of the Afri. There is, however, no evidence in the primary sources that the term Africa Terra was used to describe the region, nor is there direct evidence that it is from the name Afri that the Romans derived the term Africa. In the early 16th century, the famous medieval traveler and scholar Leo Africanus, Al-Hassan ibn Muhammad al-Wazan, who had traveled across most of North Africa, giving detailed accounts of all that he saw there, suggested that the name Africa was derived from the Greek word Afrike, meaning without cold or without horror. In a similar line of thought, other historians have suggested that the Romans may have derived the name from the Latin word for sunny or hot, namely Aprica. Where exactly the Romans got the name Africa from is, however, still in dispute. A reconstruction of Herodotus, circa 484-425 BC, map of the world, showing North Africa marked as Libya. Image source, www.mlachenas.de. For most of its history, the Roman word Africa was not used to describe the continent as a whole, but rather only a very small section of North Africa, what today constitutes the northern parts of Tunisia. Prior to the late 16th century, there were a variety of names used to describe the various constituent parts of the north half of Africa, with Libya, Ethiopia, Sudan, and Guinea being by far the most common names used. For the ancient Greeks, almost everything south of the Mediterranean Sea and west of the Nile was referred to as Libya. This was also the name given by the ancient Greeks to the Berber people who occupied most of that land. The ancient Greeks believed their world was divided into three greater regions, Europa, Asia, and Libya, all centered around the Aegean Sea. They also believed that the dividing line between Libya and Asia was the Nile River, placing half of Egypt in Asia and the other half in Libya. For many centuries, even into the late medieval period, cartographers followed the Greek example, placing the Nile as the dividing line between the landmasses. Early Arabic cartographers tended to follow the Greeks in the usage of their term, Libya, for vast swathes of North Africa beyond Egypt. Later Arabic cartographers began to call the areas south of the Sahara, extending from the Senegal River to the Red Sea, Bilad al-Sudan, the land of the blacks, which is where the contemporary nation of Sudan gets its name from. Some European cartographers, who tended to privilege Latinic derivations above others, preferred the Roman terms for the region, using the word Africa to designate the northern landmass, rather than the Greek term Libya, although Libya was still used by many. During the Middle Ages, the Christian cartographers adopted the Greek division of the world into three greater regions surrounding the Aegean Sea. The medieval cartographers, however, moved this understanding away from a geographical conception of the world into a more metaphorical understanding. They aligned each region to one of Abraham's descendants, giving Asia to Shem, Europe to Japheth, and Africa to Ham. This tripartite conception of the world was represented in extremely abstract and symbolic, rather than geographical, form, as is shown in the image above. In the 15th century, after the Portuguese had rounded the Cape and made contact with the Christian Empire of Abyssinia, the Greek term Ethiopia, meaning land of the dark-skinned or burnt, which was used by Greek cartographers to designate the land below the Egypt and the Sahara, was revived again to loosely describe all of the tropical area of the continent below the Sahara. World map from the Portolan Atlas, 1544, showing only a small portion of North Africa marked as Africa. Image source, wikipedia.org. At roughly the same time, the Portuguese began to refer to all of West Africa below the Sahara as Guinea, the land inhabited by the Guinness people. Guinness was a generic term used for Black people, in contrast to the more brown people of much of North Africa. The term Guinea, or the English Guinea, became ever more popular to describe the region of West Africa accessible from the Gulf of Guinea. Until the mid-17th century, the terms Guinea and Ethiopia, or Ethiopia, were popularly used to describe the lands south of the Sahara. Libya was commonly used for the northwest of Africa above the Sahara. Africa was used, sometimes instead of Libya, to denote the northwest of Africa, and sometimes alongside Libya to denote the central and northern region of Africa, which today is predominantly occupied by Tunisia. Before the late 16th century, Africa was used only to denote one part of the larger landmass that makes up the continent, primarily that area occupied by Tunisia and Morocco. For most of its history, the continent of Africa as we know it today had many names for all its various constituents, none of which was used to describe the landmass as a whole. A map by Herman Moll from 1736 showing the world divided into continents, written in bold type, with Africa marked as the continent's name. Image source, wikipedia.org. It was only in the 16th and 17th century, with the European age of exploration, that the concept of continents as contiguous landmasses bordered and separated by oceans began to take shape. As European exploration opened up the idea of continents, so cartographers began to give single geographical names to entire continents. By the end of the 17th century, the name Africa had won out over the others, beating names such as Guinea, Libya, or Ethiopia to become the name for the entire continent as we know it today. Why Africa won out over all the other, often more popular, names is unclear, although some historians have argued that it is due to the 17th and 18th century preference for Latinate terms above all others. The word Africa has been a marker on the continent for millennia, but its dominance over the continent and its place as the name for all the people who live on it is only a very recent phenomenon. This is the end of our program today. See you on Interblog same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new videos.
Donna, I can share with them what I shared with you about what historian Ivan Van Sertima stated about the name, because you know they always try to take credit that they named Africa this, or that they discovered this in Africa, found this, and I don't know why they always want to pretend that they discovered something or found something when there were people living there, as they did with America when they came in here and saw that the Native Americans was living here, but they discovered it. That's beyond me, but that's neither here nor there. But he said that the word Africa really is of African origin, and the information that I had stated that as well. And let me get back to it. I lost it. He said that it basically means motherland. He said that it's Afru-Ika, means birthplace or motherland. Essentially, Afru-Ika means to turn toward opening of the Ka. And we know that Ka is the soul, and Ba is the spirit. Womb or birthplace. So it says Afru-Ika means to turn toward the opening of the Ka. Womb or birthplace. And we know that Africa is the birthplace of mankind. So to me, that seems more logical.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and it also an article that I see, it says that when you see the NUS, like Leo Africanus, it tells you that he named himself after the continent, because they try to say that Africa was named after him. Where I read where this young man was a Berber, and they said that Afri came from the name of the Berber. So he was essentially saying, I am a Berber. My name is Leo the Berber, or Leo the Afri. You see, you have to, that's why you have to go back and start digging to actually see what these people are hiding and not telling us. So he was telling where he was from. And it says the name signifies that the person named himself after. And it says one thing is certain, Greek and Latin have Egyptian linguistic influence, although both are Indo-European languages. And we know this to be true because we know that the Grecians got their alphabet from the Phoenicians, and we know that the Phoenicians are no more than the Canaanites. So that is where they get the alphabet from. And then the English got their alphabets from the Grecian, because the Grecians colonized Northeast Africa, and then the Roman came and took over the Grecians and colonized it. So that's why you have in history on that. So, and it also states very interestingly is that the term Indo, because you know you will see it's an Indo-European word. It's that Indo comes from India. The word India came from the Arabs who pointed out, and I haven't really researched this, I just happened to stumble upon this, that Cush, a son of Ham, had two sons. Hind of Cush established a culture in India. Sind of Cush established a culture in the Arabian region. And it says the wandering barbarians, which we know they call themselves the Aryans, came into, and I've heard some of the Indians in India say this, that the Aryans came in and mixed in with those dark-skinned people, and you got the lighter version of them. And it says that Hind of Kush established a culture in India, Sind of Kush, and the wandering barbarians from north central Russia began to invade. Some years ago, I read that these barbarians left over in their area because they had no food. We hear this theme, this keep coming up, you all. They had no food. They was running out of food, so they were starving. So they were leaving, going to find food for themselves, and they went into over there in India. And they said they invaded it, and what was a black Kushitic India around 1700 BC is stated. And you know, if you look on the map, some of you may have already seen this. They have mountains over there called the Kush.
Yeah.
So this,
Yeah.
they were over there. We were all over the world because why? It was given to the we were people that were first here on earth. It was given to us to dominate. So that's why we habitated the entire continent. You will find us in every pocket of the earth when you keep going back further and further. That's why they said the more they keep digging in Africa, particularly Northeast Africa, in Kemet, what they call Egypt, it gets blacker and blacker and blacker.
Yeah, exactly. Even the civilization that went to Hindu Kush, for the Indians, it came from the Nile Valley. It came from the Kushites in the Nile Valley. Even the language, the Tamil, even the religion, this Buddha, all that came from the Nile Valley with the people who had left. Yeah. We even have Naga there in India.
That came over there. They, you know, even Kundalini, which I found out that in Bantu is Undalini. Has to do with it means the key, the chi, because you know they have the key over there. Well, when you go look at some of their words, you see that words are so similar to Bantu languages over there in those particular areas. I'm going further over to Asia. So, and it just simply means force. And I mentioned this before, force, power, ki, chi. And in Christianity, they refer to it as the Holy Spirit. It's that fire, that energy. That's all it is. To have people to believe it's demonic. But when you go start digging, you'll see that there's different names for it, and you'll understand that it's not demonic. You know, it's just that energy, that ki, that chi. And once you start getting into our Bantu names like Nzambi, you say Za is frequency. And you will start understanding, and you look at the words, frequency is the same as energy. Energy is the same as power. So he is the power. So when you say Kundalini, and you look at it and it says that it simply means ki, chi, power, frequency. Go figure. We thank you for your time, and we're going to end it here. We'll probably have this split up into two settings because it's been a while, but it's so much that we have to unpack And we know we can go on and on and on with this, but we have to have a stopping point. We'll have another time and another time and another time. It's our season. We're in the age of Aquarius where knowledge is going to come out. So we're going to have time. We got all the time, because guess what, family? It's our time to rise again. So all this wealth of knowledge is going to be coming out more and more and more anyway, so that we can learn who we are. So we love you all. To all the people out on social media, we hope that this have enlightened you in some kind of way. Those that it haven't enlightened, I pray that in the future that it will enlighten you in some kind of way. Just keep listening, keep moving. It will one day. So with that being said, au revoir to everyone in social media.
Matondo Masaka.